Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday, July 25th, 2012, and this is Day 9 Daily number 484, where we learn to be a better gamer. Interestingly, this is the second attempt to begin the show, because for some reason I was just a little bit too involved in reading right when the show began, and as a result, my brain was not in it. I was not present for the show, and you might say, what were you reading, Day 9? Reddit.com/r/aww. /r/aw. Oh my god, there was a baby puppy. Oh my god. Oh my god. I gotta stay focused. Ouch! Oh, that stings particularly hard because of my brazen, bushily beard. But that's okay. The pain has helped me sharpen my focus to talk to you today. In today's daily, we're going to look at a wonderful Zerg vs. Protoss game from IPL's Hot Import Nights, where they invited Illusion, MMA, Dongregu, and Hero to play in a 4-person tournament for a lot of money. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at Dongregu going up against MMA, so we're going to get Zerg today, Zerg tomorrow, ZvP today, ZvT tomorrow. How wonderful. In very, maybe exciting, maybe not exciting news, I live in Los Angeles, but my dentist is in Kansas City. And generally when I go home to visit, I do little dental checkups and stuff because, as you might imagine, Kansas City's a lot cheaper than Los Angeles. I'm having surgery on my mouth. I'm having dental surgery next week, so I'll actually not be in town from Sunday to Thursday because I'll be in Kansas City doing that. Now, many of you know, see this tooth? See that? It's a chip tooth. You see how this one just kind of comes down naturally? Yeah, that's right. Apparently, I have been having slowly disintegrating 2 front teeth. Are actually both totally going to hell. So, he's going to help get them to hell. So, I do like my chip tooth. I'm quite fond of it. But apparently, in about a year, it would just disintegrate and I would have a giant hole in the tooth. Yeah. So, that's what's happening next week. Good for me, maybe. I hope I don't just show up and I'm just like, hey guys, how are you? And I have like total like mass Vicodin or whatever they give you for dental surgery. I don't know. Maybe I'm going over the top. I don't know. Heroin. What do they give you for dental surgery? Probably is heroin, I'd imagine. The doctor's like squeezing the tourniquet on my arm. He's like, now Sean, we gotta straighten out those teeth. And I'm like, how did you get a dentistry license? I don't know if I'm looking forward to it or not, but that's what's happening. In good news, Purity Ring released their debut album Shrines, and I have been listening to the fuck out of that thing. That's great. Let's hop into the daily's topic because I love analysis. That is why I got into this business, because I just like talking about strategy and stuff. So in this game, we're going to see DRG going up against LiquidHero on ESV Cloud Kingdom, and I'll begin by saying that LiquidHero is a very unorthodox player. He does a lot of weird things. Over time, all Protoss players are starting to fall into this kind of crazy, just odd builds, odd timing, odd compositions. The core, what most players do, is the easy thing. Immortal, Stalker, Sentry, and then into Colossus. Very passive, very patient, very not attack-oriented. Hero is very attack-oriented. Great players like Fnatic RC's Oz, very attack-oriented. And likewise, from the Zerg point of view, most Zergs tend to fall into this category of going 3-base, going roach laying in the mid-game, and then going infestor broodlord. So what we've done is we've just kind of talked a little bit about the fact of these are the standards. In this game, we're going to see DRG do a non-standard way of playing, where he's going to be going Ling Muta into baneling, infestor, and so on and so forth. And also kind of how he's going to be dealing with Hero style. The most important thing to note is that at the end of the day, LiquidHero is just a Protoss. I mean, I know you might think he's the most beautiful, charming, handsome man in the world and he's God's gift to Protoss PvZ action. Whether that's true or false, he still must abide by the rules of Protoss, so we can simply think about what Protoss can do at all points in time. And this is important from both sides of the coin. For the aggressive players, we have to say things like, well, he can't be possible of everything at all points in time. And likewise, for the passive players, we also have to say, well, I know you're probably going to play passively, but I should consider some of the weird stuff as well. We should consider it ignorant of whether our opponent is aggressive, passive, sound on, sound off. Let me assure you that I listen to really good music when I play, which is the reasoning behind that sound off. So I want to hop into DRG's point of view, and I'm going to talk about mutaling a little while later. I'll just go ahead and talk about some of the most notable stuff that goes on in the openings. There are playstyles that involve you going gateway and main, and I will ignore them. Why? Because Hero doesn't do it in this game, and I only have an hour. Simple as that. We're going to analyze the early expander type of people. The big number I want you to have in your head is 8 minutes. 8 minutes is about as early as he can do warp gate stuff, Stargate stuff, really fast robo stuff. 8 minutes is the scary time. Before that, the least, or actually the most he can do, is just be sending oodles and oodles and oodles of units at us from one gateway. So actually, oodles is the wrong word. He can be sending us almost nothing. Before the 8-minute mark, probably the worst we'll be hit with is 1 zealot and 2 stalkers. That's as bad as it gets before 8 minutes. Why? Because that's just Protoss. I don't care if you're Dongre Gu, I don't care if you're a Bronze League Protoss, or I don't care if you're LiquidHero or a Bronze League Protoss. You just can't really do it faster than 8. With probably, I'd say, one notable exception. If you devote 5 chrono boosts to a very early cybernetics core, you can have 4 gateways warping in zealots at around 725. But that's about it. That is, it's not going to be an 8-gate pressure coming in at 725. It's going to be 4 gates, just zealots at worst. It's even hard for him to have +1. So, I just want to note that in your brain right now. There's timings at 10, and particularly 16, I think, is the increasingly scary timing, but no big deal. We are going to go for a pool first. Pool on 14 or 15, play to your preference. That sounds so freaking good. And we don't really know what our opponent is up to yet. We see this pylon down, which would indicate that an early expand is coming. Actually, that pretty much does. This really interrupts 2-gate Zealot Rush builds, unless it's really ultra-specifically timed. But we want this. I'm going to advance forward a little bit just so this pinging on the minimap stops. Excellent. This first Overlord's primary goal is to just check this area and to wind up here. Diapollo has some great diagrams of where to send Overlords on various maps. This second Overlord, I personally like sending down here into this little back area. Sure, you can suicide it in if you're really worried, but I like having vision of my third, or my opponent's third, excuse me. There's a couple other notable positions on the map, but I'm literally going to ignore them for the time being. Bah ha ha! This is what happens when Day 9 only has 1 hour for a daily. So what we're going to do in this portion of the game is talk about basics, the stuff that we would generally always see. I do think it is correct to leave the drone here. Often the drone, you'll see people just come back here, and then they'll cancel this pylon immediately. I want at the very least force that pylon to build. And just the 4 lings in the drone, no problem. They generally will cancel this one every time anyways. So I leave the drone there a bit. And Dongre Gu's just going to play it out in normal mode like a boss. Now, I don't care too much about the timing of this gateway. As Zerg, I'll come back to here and note that most of the significant timings come off these 2 gas geysers. If you see no gas geysers here at 6:15, then he's probably either early expanding to a 3rd or he's being aggressive. But if not, then you're pretty comfortable. But I will also state that the earliest, a lot of the early pressure, the gateway has to start at 3:30. Very often you'll see this gateway starting at 4, and if he's starting at 4, you'll recall at the start of the daily I mentioned this 725 big zealot push that comes in. Just can't happen anymore. You have to build this gateway quite early for that. This is really significant. So he builds it at 330. Everything in my eyes as a Zerg player is the same, with one exception, that it is possible for my Protoss buddy to be getting ultra mega fast warp gate. This is a possibility. But I'll also note that starting a gateway at 330 follows up with building a cybernetics core at 430. So if you're here and then you see the cybernetics core get built at 5, there's just like no threat at all. So Dong Regu looking quite good. And he's just building all his usual queens and drones and all that good stuff. Overlord parked here. Many people would say, why the hell is the Overlord parked here? Answer is simple. He wants to see if there's a cybernetics core that gets constructed. You'll see a cyber core did go down. It actually ends up in the main. But even so, we do want to leave this here for just a little bit because there's no physical chance of a stalker being able to come in until way late. I think this is a simple mistake that a lot of Zergs make. They'll see it and be like, yeah, he's expanding. They'll send it back here like way early. This cybernetics core is not even close to good. It ain't even close to good. Or excuse me, it ain't even close to dying. Cybernetics core is not even close to taking pressure. Can my sentences be worse? At 5 minutes, there is no chance of a stalker arriving to kill our Overlord. I keep saying cute things like, oh, cybernetics core is so good. And then I realize that that actually is not a sentence. Just because words came out of my mouth doesn't mean that a thought happened. I will be extra cautious to actually say things of value today. Excellent. I'm restarting the daily. I'm upset. That was poor. Alright, speeding things along. Generally all 3 queens get built out of this hatch. Even if this hatch doesn't get thrown down so early. And at this point in time, you'll notice this is a pretty significant time, around 5:30 to 5:45. Run away! He runs away, he sees that there's this +1 going down. Don't engage the Zealot. Even though we might be able to kill it, these are the only Zerglings you want to have. The most valuable thing is to keep them alive and to get information. So we have our Queenies going down. Everything's pretty much consistent with a standard Zerg opening at this point in time. Our Zerglings did their absolute best to stay alive. But here's something quite interesting that we're seeing right out the gate. Almost all Zergs have been following in the Stefano style of getting 2 extractors at 6 minutes. Just recently, Zergs have been trying this out. 3 Vespene gas geysers going down at 6:30. It's 30 seconds later, but it ends up being pretty good for the timings that we're going to see Dong Regu do. So just wanted to note that real fast. 3 extractors at 6:30. There's some extra interesting precautions that we're going to see out of Dong Regu. Most notably, he builds some lings, but he's only going to build 4, and we actually have an extra queen in production. Normally, we would be in the mood to build a roach warren to do all that sort of stuff. But Dong Regu is very carefully putting his queens out in front and spreading the creep out this way. You'll actually notice that this hatchery doesn't have any larvae inject on it. This is a very intentional and generally somewhat difficult thing to pull off. I'll actually come back to 6:40 when action happens. I'm actually going to come back a little bit earlier to 6 minutes. Cool. We have our larva inject coming down from, you know, one of our fresh queens. And then at 6:30, we are adding on... Where is it? Geyser, geyser, geyser. Yeah, geyser, geyser, geyser. We go geyser, 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 and then when we have enough money to, we build our queen, and we send our other queen to wherever we think the threat is going to be. We did get these extra zerglings around 6:30 as well. Geyser, 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 queen zergling. But we're just sort of doing some spotting. Now, ladies and gents, here's a quiz that we're not actually going to go through all the pain of, you know, answering quiz questions about. But what are we scared of at 8 minutes? Now, there's two answers to this. One is, well, there's the things that we're scared of in general, and then there are the things that we need to be scared about this game. So, I see in chat, everything, Dark Templar. We see that our opponent is actually not gone. Well, so in general, I should say, in general, we're scared of big gateway attacks. We're scared of 4-gate rushes, 8-gate rushes. We're scared of fast void rays. We're scared of some warp prisms that can come out quite early. There's some DT stuff that can happen. Not quite now, but in a little bit. You know, we're listing all these things off, but most notably, everything is done by the gas. So, to answer the real question of, in this game, Dongre Gu, I actually wonder how much this Overlord was moving around. I didn't check this. This is just common stuff in this matchup. Oh yeah, this Overlord has actually been parked here. And at 6:20, we see nothing. I've kind of gone from 6 minutes to 7:30 several times, because this is a very critical period. From 6 to 8 for Zerg. This Overlord's chilling here. It sees nothing. 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 Okay. What does this imply? We haven't seen air. Yeah, we're at 7:24. Well, we could see air at 8. We could see a warp gate attack at 8. Or we could see a expansion at 8. That's the most other notable thing that we must keep track of. He could be throwing down an expansion. We see it up here, but of course as Dongre Gu we don't know this. This is this trigger for Dongre Gu as he moves out. There could very well be a pylon down here. It would be very unusual with all these lings here to get in the way. But at that key period of time, Dongre Gu really wants to go see if there's a third. And this is one of these common plays that make people look like hackers. Literally, Dongre Gu at 7 minutes went beeline, getting a little bit of battles, beeline to the third. Excellent. Now, we've talked a lot about the timings that are going on. We've talked most notably about this tool, this little nibnard here, the Overlord hanging out there. Excellent. Excellent. But, the other thing that I want to cover before we step on off to a break is this little period of time where we went triple geyser at 6:30. We got this 4th queen, and we're spreading creep out here. We've pretty much emphasized droning. But all of a sudden, because we don't really see any of that pressure, and by the way, let me also note, these 2 queens help us abate a ton of pressure early on. We actually go layer first. Layer first right off the bat. What if we were unsure and we were really scared? We can do other things like Roach Warren right away. You'll notice DRG actually does get the Roach Warren Evo Chamber combo pretty quickly. He's going to get him at around 7:45. The safe timing is considered 7:15 is the earliest possible time you'll need it. But DRG is relying heavily on these 2 queens to help him buy time for some of those early gateway pressures. So right now, I just want to go through the Zerg's thought process. Better spread creep out in case there's an early attack. Going to be building drones. Going to get speed. These are all the upgrades. If there's no third, I'm building units. If there's no third, I'm building units. Ah, there's a third. I guess I don't need to build units. I'm done with part one, ladies and gentlemen. In part number one, what we did is we went through all the standard timings of the early game just to make sure we had all our bases covered. The most interesting aspect of this opening is this 3 geyser at 6:30 timing that allows us to get a little bit of a faster layer. It allows us also to get Zergling speed quite early, and just in case, we do have enough defenses for some of these scary threats. We're going to be a little bit lower on minerals, so we better have something interesting with our gas planned. Yeah, when we step into part 2, we'll start seeing some more of the odd decisions that are going to be played out, most notably LiquidHero's unusual fast third Nexus play. And then we'll talk about some other odd decisions Hero makes, and most importantly, how they affect us as Dong Regu. And we'll try to discuss those not in terms of just a, here's the specific answer here, but we'll try to do it in a general idea. When your Protoss player does this kind of move, we respond in this kind of way. Boom! Boobs! Be back in a bit. Woo! That's right.